Welcome to another episode of Bucket List Coach Web Show. Well, hello. I'm going to introduce you to my guest in just 1 minute. This is Cindy, your host at Bucket List Coach Web Show. It is National Aviation History Month. I couldn't be more excited. And a big plug to National Day Calendar. I actually am the celebration ambassador for this month. So excited about that. So a little bit about the show. I am a travel agent and a podcaster. And I started Bucket List Coach Web Show as a way for me and my guests to share what we're doing, making the most of the dash. So we have the day that we're born and the day that we pass away, that little dash between there. What are you doing to make the most of the dash, whether you have an amazing excursion company or you have a really great bucket list that we need to share? Definitely connect with me over at Bucket List Coach Web Show. Love to get you on the show. And it's also inspired by TV chef Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace. He was so amazing. He was a chef just like me, and then he went into travel later in his years. So really quickly, if you're watching here on YouTube, you subscribe and comment over at Bucket List Coach Web Show, and you share either to LinkedIn or Facebook. I'll gift you a 5-night hotel stay. Please go to 3nightgiveaway.com for more information. And of course, a big plug to National Day Calendar. Go to nationaldaycalendar.com. Today is National Housewife Day and National Sandwich Day. And today I have Jeff with the Yak 110. Before I introduce you, let's go to the video. Let me go back on this other one here. Just 1 second. I got to set it up, Jeff. Sorry. Stop this one. I got to set up the other website. And here we go. Woo! Woo! Awesome.
I think I edged out the shockwave on that one just a little bit.
Do you remember that? What was that in 2017?
Yeah, thanks to Dennis Dunbar, and Darcy there. When you come out with a one-of-a-kind airplane, in fact, it's the first time in the history of aviation that 2 airplanes have been put together and then add a jet engine onto it. So it's absolutely very unique. And when you have something like that in an air show industry that's really cautious about safety and everything else, to get the industry excited about Yak 110 was not that easy. But Dennis Dunbar believed in us 100%, and he booked us for Oshkosh and for the Sacramento, California Capital Air Show that year, knowing that, of course, with Dell and I involved with the project, that it was going to be top notch. And of course, it was and still is.
Well, tell my audience all about the story behind the Yak 110. So it's 2 55s, right? Soviet airplanes?
Yeah, so not that creative when I came up with the name. I just added 55 and 55, came up with the Yak 110. Didn't even need a calculator, so that worked out pretty good. But yeah, we took 2 airplanes, and the airplanes in question were connected for a long time, actually, for since 2004. So Chad Barty had a Yak 55, and I needed to find a Yak to train for the World Championships because I was going to rent the Russian airplane in 2004 at the World Championships. And I didn't really want to buy one because I was planning to go to a Sukhoi after that and move up to Unlimited. But after flying Chad's airplane and commuting out to Lubbock to do so, it was complicated from Phoenix to Lubbock. So I found 955 Sierra Foxtrot, the red airplane, on Barnstormers, and I went out to Atlanta and purchased the airplane, and then I flew it to Lubbock, Texas, where Chad got to fly mine. So the 2 airplanes met back in 2004 in Lubbock, Texas. And then they didn't come together again until 2017. And Chad had subsequently sold his airplane. I kept mine. I knew at some point there was going to be a great repurpose of the airplane. So it's so cool by itself, even though I was moving on to other airplanes, it was something worth keeping for sure. And so when I had that phone call with Chad, it basically went, I've got this idea. I want to take your old Yak 55 and combine it with my Yak 55, put a CJ 610 jet engine on there. What do you think? And he pretty much told me I was crazy, and that he wasn't really convinced that was a good idea. But then he hung up. He hung out with his buddies, I think, went to the bar and called me back a little bit later, actually that night, and said, "You know what? I am all in. This can be phenomenal." You take two really impressive airplanes to start with. The Russian engineering on those airplanes it's like Boeing designing an aerobatic airplane. So they're very well engineered airplanes, and the Yak 55 in particular makes a great platform for this because the airplane is fully symmetrical. The wings symmetrical and right on the same chord line as the horizontal, which is on the same line as the engine. So everything, the airplane's exactly the same upside down as it is right side up. And the fact that the wings are held on with only 3 bolts, 2 main spar bolts and 1 rear spar bolt. You take those 3 bolts out, the wing comes off, the left wing on one, the right wing on the other. We built that center section with the help of Eddie Sauerman doing the engineering, and of course, Del Collar and Ben Anderson with their handiwork to build that center section, put the 6 bolts back in with the new center section and add a jet engine, and you have a Yak 110. It sounds pretty simple, and in a lot of ways it was. In fact, Del will say every time I thought there was going to be something more complicated, like with the controls, how are we going to do the ailerons or the rudders, or every time there was a challenge or what seemed to be a challenge, it was solved with something that was even easier than planned, pretty much all the way along the build. We were only 13 months from the time the 2 airplanes came together till when it flew for the first time, under 13 months.
Well, I want to do a shout out to Mitchell Bell. He's doing a comment here. I actually found him on YouTube because next week on the 14th, I'm going to interview a F-14 pilot, and he's actually had him on his podcast. So I just want to do a shout out. He's coming on later on this month.
Oh, cool.
So what do you got going on for the schedule for the Yak 110 for the rest of the year?
The Yak 110's safely parked in the hangar here in Phoenix, and he doesn't have much on the schedule right now. So we are going to be spooled up pretty early, though, next year. In fact, we're just finalizing the contract to go back to the Buckeye Air Show. This is a smaller air show right here in Phoenix. It's really great for a small air show to have such a big presence airplane. It's one thing to go to Oshkosh or to Huntington Beach, where you have a million people down at the beach, or Oshkosh, hundreds of thousands. But when a little show like Buckeye, who wants to be a big show, hopefully we'll get there someday, can arrange to have a Yak 110, and this will be either the second or third time that we're going to have the airplane there. It's pretty special. And that show is in the middle of February. So it's nice and early for us. We'll get the airplane ready to go. We don't have anything left this year. It's just time to take a break, put the airplane away, and we'll get it fired up again in January, get it ready to go for our start in February.
So he has a question. Do you see his question down below?
Yeah. That's a good question. The airplane weighs about 4,800 pounds. And so where I'm sitting, yes, it's not on the center, but it's pretty close to the center. And my 200 pounds with the parachute sitting there doesn't really affect the airplane from a center of gravity. Or I don't even notice a difference in aileron trim, really. When I go cross country, I fill the right side cockpit with all of our spare parts, oil, tools, even our AC air technology tug, our robotic tug goes into that side. So flying it then is no different really from a sideways weight differential. It flies pretty much the same.
So when are you going to start having rides like Me.
That's the number one question I get. I mean, there's a lot of questions, but the number one question is, can I go for a ride? So far, only my partners in the airplane, Chad Barty, who was the original owner of the Blue Side, Del Collar, who built the airplane and has also flown it, but he's rode in the right hand seat as well, and then Ben Anderson, the mechanic extraordinaire that travels with me with the airplane and keeps it all up and running. Full-time job for him, but he's been in the airplane. So that's it so far. We have a commitment for our first rider. We did a private show for him, and part of that deal was that he was going to get to ride first in the airplane. So I haven't been able to coordinate that yet. We were this close at Oshkosh to put him in the airplane. That would have been great. So we're kind of still waiting for that. But to get a ride in the airplane, I think is going to be really special because it is so unique. It is absolutely one of a kind. There's no way to get a ride in it until we take you. So we'll get there. It won't be long. We're going to have a program to put people in the airplane.
So I want to introduce you to my friend Rhonda. She's one of my business partners, and her dad actually used to be a Tuskegee Airman. So pretty cool.
Oh, really cool. And they haven't heard of it yet. Yeah, it's interesting. We've flown a fair amount of West Coast air shows, not on the East Coast. I haven't had anyone, to get the airplane all the way out to the East Coast is quite expensive, and it's hard to get it out there really unless I've got 2 or 3 shows to do, and hopefully we get there, this next summer. We're getting ready for the air show convention coming up in December this year, and wow. I've got a few shows lined up already for next year. We've got, like I said, the Buckeye Air Show. We're going to do Hill Air Force Base, which was the second air show we did with the Yak 110 in 2018. Thank you for those guys, for believing in us to give us that shot to come there right away at the beginning. So that'll be good. We're going to fly the Duluth Air Show. That'll be the first time for the Yak to be in Duluth. That'll be great. Of course, we're going to do Huntington Beach, and we're trying, like I said, we're going to try and get the Yak and the Jet Waco together at Huntington Beach last year, like we did at Oshkosh this year.
Wow. So how are you going to do that with the Shockwave one, the truck?
No, this was the jet biplane. You remember
okay.
Sasquatch? Used to be the Screaming Sasquatch. It's got new owners now, but Dell is still flying the airplane. And we at Oshkosh this year, we flew both airplanes together in a formation act, which was well received. People loved having the 2 airplanes. I mean, they're so unique. It's having them together was a lot of fun for Dell and I, of course. It's one thing to do a solo air show, but when you get to fly, formation, it's pretty special to be able to do formation aerobatics, especially in such 2 different types of airplanes. It was pretty cool.
Very cool. So let's talk Top Gun. What's one of your favorite scenes or one of your favorite lines from Top Gun?
Oh boy, you put me on the spot there. I don't. You tell me, what's your favorite?
Oh, there's so many. What's that one? Something about sun, your body can't cash the checks, or I forget the whole line. Yeah,
exactly. No, that's a good one. Or something about, when he flew by and and Goose says, "Who came by?" or something, like he didn't see it or something like that. I don't remember. There's so many good lines. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I hope it, stacks up to the first. It's hard to do, of course, but especially with Top Gun, is such a great movie.
Yeah. Have you heard of California Tom Cruise? He's on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I want to get him on the show. So I'm crossing my fingers. I got a couple of my pilot friends trying to talk to him and see if he could come on the show, because that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I have actually even reached out to Tom Cruise himself. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So you're going to follow me on the show?
Yeah, right?
Come on, Tom. You can come on. Maybe Tom wants to go for a ride in the Yak 110.
Yeah. Cindy wants to go for a ride in the Yak 110. I get first dibs, right?
Yeah. The one thing about flying in the Yak 110 on the right side, Chad tells us, you neutered my airplane because we took out all of the controls. There's no way to control the airplane at all in that right side fuselage. And the guy that's scheduled to go number 1 in the airplane is like, well, I'm not really sure I want to go in the Yak 110 because there's no way to control it from that side. You're strictly just a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I would just sit there and you're in control of my life.
Right, yep.
So are we going to do inverted? What are we going to do? So if I go on your plane, what do you think we should do to make it more exciting?
What's pretty cool is like doing a double or a triple hammerhead where the airplane just pinwheeling around. The other really cool thing is it was with differential power, so I could pull the left power back and spin the airplane quite fast, actually. And so sitting in the right side fuselage, if we do a left rudder spin, you'll really get whipping around in there. You'll see when I do the spins in the air show that I do them to the left for the most part, and that's because sitting on the left side, spinning around, you're not getting slung shot all the way around in that circle, so it's a little bit easier to ride through. So but you would probably enjoy it on the outside of that spin.
You see what Mitchell says? He said your ego is writing checks your body can't cap.
There you go. Yeah.
That's it there. Right. So we have about 4 minutes. Let's talk about some other stuff about the Yak 110. So who actually inspired you to become a pilot?
Actually, I was at the Oshkosh Air Show. I went, I was about 7 years old. The family went out there. We drove out from Minnesota, where I grew up. My dad was a pilot, and so he got us early on into building and flying model airplanes, which I did, from as long as I can remember. And then going to Oshkosh, same story as so many people. That Oshkosh is just so inspiring. And then you see the aerobatic pilots, like Leo and Charlie Hillard and Art Scholl. I remember watching at my first air show. I was 7 years old and watching Art Scholl fly his Chipmunk, and I will never forget it. And that planted a seed in me that obviously is still growing. If you would have told me at some point I'd be flying a one-of-a-kind airplane at the world's greatest show, Oshkosh, I would have said you're out of your mind. But I'm really fortunate to be able to have such a great support system with all the people that have helped me get to where I'm at now, and all the people involved with getting the Yak 110. It's really special, and I'm very lucky guy.
So I'm going to get to that video really quickly. Let me see here. Do you see the video?
I do, yep.
Okay, let me play that really quick. This is from Huntington Beach.
Oh, yeah, cool. Huntington Beach is such an incredible air show. I mean, three jet teams this year.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
Kevin, he's just showing off, just amazing.
Okay. Here you go. Ready?
Ready.
And coming hot.
She is beautiful.
It is a beautiful airplane. People ask, why?
Coming hot.
They ask why we kept it, two different paint jobs. And I wanted the airplane to look like two airplanes. I didn't want to just paint it one color because it definitely looks like we stuck two airplanes together. Most people say we welded them together, but obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, it's a pretty airplane, no doubt.
Definitely. So we're at the end of the show. We have 2 minutes left. And why don't you give a young person any advice on why they should become a pilot and follow their dream? I actually grew up near Travis Air Force Base. I've never followed that dream, but I tell you what, when I seen that C-5 go over the house, it sure got me pretty excited.
Well, when I was young and saw all this stuff, I never thought that it was really possible. To be a pilot is not complicated. I mean, most people, when you look at what we're doing, they get overwhelmed by what might go into it. It's like, well, I'm not good with math. Well, aviation is magical. There's no question. But to become a pilot is not. And when you have an opportunity to go to an airport, go get a discovery flight, just get into an airplane and go fly one. You'll see that the magic happens when you actually touch in the controls. It's like, hey, there's no roads up here. This is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then to have the first solo, for example, and you have that confidence when you solo an airplane, you've graduated to a new level of confidence in your life. And I live by my college professor said, there's 3 rules in life: never give up, never give up, never give up. And there's the 3 Ds, and that's dedication, discipline, and determination. And you put that into a daily routine, and being a pilot is going to be an amazing thing for you. I've looked back and wouldn't change a single thing.
Well, I'm 56 years old, so could I still be a pilot?
Absolutely.
What's the cost to get all that going and flight time and all that?
Well, you got a, private pilot license now. It depends on where you go to get it, but I mean, it's not cheap, of course. I mean, a flying hour could be, $100 to $150. And you need a minimum of 40 hours to become a private pilot. So there's a little bit involved with it, of course, but like I say, you continue through and just go to the airport, see what it's like. I've encouraged so many people, even lately after Huntington Beach, I had people go into the airport and go for a flight. And in fact, a good friend of mine here, he is getting ready to take a private pilot check ride. Because I took him flying about 6 months ago in a little Cessna 152, and he's gone full speed ahead. So it's possible, but to get into an airplane and as a discovery flyer, that's the best first step. Just go to the airport, tell them you want to go on a discovery flight.
Wow. I am so grateful for you. I mean, I've been wanting to meet you since like 2017, and here we are a couple years later. And this is a bucket list dream come true to have you on. You want to do a couple plugs for all your social media, and then I'll pop you in the green room.
Well, check us out on yak110.com. So yak110.com, and all the links to our social media, which is, at this point, not mind-blowing social media, but there's a lot of really cool videos on the YouTube channel that go through the entire build process. It shows from very start to the end, what all was involved. There's a lot of really good videos there to check out and see how the Yak 110 was put together.
And any other shout outs you'd like to shout out for today before we log off?
Well, I always like to thank our sponsors. We have MT Propeller, Lift Aviation. Thank you so much. I mean, we have such great helmet and shoes and support from Lift. And then ACR Technologies. The Yak 110 would not be nearly as mobile on the ground without our tug. And that thing is worth its weight in gold. Love it.
And how about some shout outs to the Pacific Air Show and also the Sacramento Air Show?
Oh, yeah. Come on, Darcy. We got to get that Yak back to California Capital. And, of course, next year, look for the Yak 110 and the Jet Waco at Pacific Air Show. We're working on it right now, and I'm hopeful that we can make that happen.
Well, awesome. I'm going to pop you in the green room. Just hang tight for about a minute or so, and then we'll chat. Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, my God. It just gets better and better. Yak 110, baby. So next on the show, I have my friend Joe, and he's from Cajuns Aviation Dream. Definitely stay tuned at 2:00. And go to yak110.com and follow the Yak 110 on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and also follow on Instagram. And of course, go to Bucket List Coach Web Show Live. You're going to subscribe and comment. And if you share this very video on Facebook or LinkedIn, I will gift you a 5-night hotel stay. This is Cindy Shaka, baby. We'll see you on the next show.